An internet business offers the ultimate lazy man's vocation. You dream up an idea, code it in, and it replenishes your bank account for the rest of time. Mine left me free to spend years travelling the world and to find the best place in it to settle down and raise my family, which is why you're listening to me here in Noosa today. One thing in life that fascinates me is the idea of right and wrong. How many people does it all take to start doing something before it's no longer wrong? Well, it's actually the reverse of that idea that I find even more interesting. How long can you resist doing something before you become the fool for not doing it too? In the old days, the word hacker referred to folks doing bad things with computers, but that's changed. It now means anyone doing interesting stuff, usually in some kind of non-conventional way, and it doesn't just mean computers. You can hack everything from hardware to DNA and life itself. So I'm going to talk about hacking business. And just to keep you confused, I mean both definitions of the word at once. There's basically two ways to set up an internet business. You can just do it, or you can do it properly. For the last year or more, I've been establishing my new online anti-fraud business the proper way. Now, during my anti-fraud adventures, I've also observed plenty of just do it operations. So observing isn't the same as doing, though, so just for this talk, I set one up to show you exactly how it's done firsthand. Any web business needs, of course, a website and a way to get money out of people. Now, the money part used to be a problem for hackers because banks put good effort into blocking fraudulent scumbags, which is clearly inconvenient if you're setting out to be one. So I chose Bitcoin instead. It's a worldwide peer-to-peer anonymous cryptocurrency. You can buy and sell stuff for bitcoins, buy, sell, or trade bitcoins themselves, cash them in any number of different ways, or download mining software and mint your own. I've been mining for the last month or so now, and I found about $100 worth so far. Bitcoin is immune from government or bank interference. It's not controlled by anyone. There's no fees, and because it's based on cryptography, it's also immune to fraud. Most interestingly, Bitcoin is anonymous. Now, the fundamental difference between a hacker business and a legitimate one is the hacker knows in advance they're being naughty, so they take defensive steps from day one. The one I set up is designed to steal money from idiots. If you're squeamish about being that naughty, just pretend I'm selling fluffy robot bunnies or something. The principles are the same. Now, I know fraud. My job is to block, track, and investigate it, so I obviously didn't do this from home. I grabbed my bitcoins and my laptop, jumped in the car, and found a quiet spot with free Wi-Fi. I booted a live CD, which is the tool of choice for today's internet fraudsters because it prevents any evidence of your actions turning up later, and I installed a Chinese proxy. If anyone tries to track me later, they'll just see China in there and blame them. China bashing is totally in vogue right now. The next thing I did was set up an email address. The American NSA permanently record and monitor all international internet traffic, and most domestic stuff too, in their Total Data Awareness program. So to keep off their records, I chose web.com.na from Namibia. Now I needed a domain name, and I found the company domainsforbitcoins.com. They're in the Netherlands, and I registered the domain destroyreputation.me. I avoided a .com because the customs and FBI regularly shut those down, and .me is kind of cool, plus it's the country code for Montenegro. It's critically important to pick new and different countries for everything, because any investigations that might take later will be stalled and usually killed in their tracks at every new border. Finally, I needed hosting, so I picked privacy.li. It's another place that takes Bitcoin. They're a Chinese bulletproof web host run from a Liechtenstein website on servers in Malaysia. They don't want to know who you are or what you're doing. You give them Bitcoins, they give you server space. It's as simple as that. Oops, I've been forgetting my clicker. Okay, so hackers don't need ethics. So I just ripped off the design of some website I found. They'll probably never know, and even if they did, how could they possibly catch me? So here it is. I decided to sell reputation destruction services. Customers pay me, and I kick off a blizzard of negative publicity that utterly impugns the character of whoever they target. Humans love revenge, and they generally believe anything negative without question, so I can't fail. Hey, I found it on the internet, so it must be true, right? An even neater aspect of a hacker business is you don't actually have to run the business. Sure, random idiots have given me $200 worth of bitcoins this week, but what's the worst they can do? Find some other reputation destruction service to try and destroy my reputation? Well, unless they're terminally stupid, they've just already learned that lesson. Seriously though, this is the #1 operating paradigm of fraudulent businesses. They take your money and then do nothing. Ethics are dangerous. If you're foolish enough to actually ship robot bunnies, make sure you don't put your name and address on the shipping label, and cross your fingers those bunnies aren't traceable, and hope your supplier won't rat you out if someone comes hunting for you. Now let's compare this with a legitimate business. What if you want to actually get rich selling robot bunnies? You'll need a proprietary limited trading company, which takes about a week and costs $1,000. You'll need to provide various forms of identification, including all your home, business and postal addresses, nominate shareholders and executives and identify all them too, register with ASIC and commit to their annual reporting and fees. Establishment requires a bank account, so you'll need a spare day, 100 points of identification and a commitment to pay business bank account fees for the rest of time. You'll eventually need to register for GST and do BAS reports 4 times every year. You're on the internet, so you'll be wanting an ACN and a corporate key for ASIC and an Oz key for the ATO. And then another key, Oz key, each time they get hacked again, like happened last month. Anyway, unless you've got Superman capacity to tolerate paperwork, you're going to need to pay an accountant to deal with your annual tax returns and reporting. And don't forget to keep ASIC perpetually updated with your whereabouts, or else wear a giant corporate fine. You might already have assets or hope soon to have some, so you're going to want to protect them in due course, which means you need a discretionary trust as well, which itself needs a trustee, which is going to need to be a different proprietary limited company and run by somebody else. So you need to double everything you just did and add your partner into the mix, double down on the number of tax returns, bank accounts and ASIC forms you need to complete, and don't forget to pay your capital gains tax. I'm not even halfway. Today's internet is all about venture capital, otherwise known as smart money, and that really only comes from one place, Silicon Valley. Sure, maybe you can get investors from elsewhere, but that's dumb money. This is the internet, you need smart. If you want any investment from the Valley, you won't get it unless you've got a Delaware C Corp, which is the must-have standard for online business structures. Even if you seek investment from any place else, without a C Corp, you've halved your chances. Add a USA trip to form one last corporation, another bank account with fees, annual Delaware taxes, USA tax returns, and $30,000 in legal fees, just sort out all the contracts and intercompany worldwide licensing. If you're looking for funding, you need marketing collateral, business plans, and intellectual property protection like patents and trademarks. So you need an attorney. Fundraising is a full-time job, so you'll need an employee. Now, you'll also need quarterly superannuation, quarterly PAYG, and annual group certificates at least. I'm absolutely serious. You really cannot skip any of that stuff. I've established a dozen IT businesses over the last 16 years, so I know this. The benefit of all that paperwork means PayPal will let you have an account to accept payments, and you can now buy a domain with hosting. GoDaddy does both for peanuts. And at last, you can hire designers and programmers to code your site, start trading, shipping, and paying tax. Now let's look at some things that can go wrong. The hacker business really only has one problem: getting caught. That's never going to happen. There's no such thing as an international police force. Domestic police all get stopped at international borders, and you already covered your tracks. The legitimate business is another story. PayPal refuse all payments from more than 60 different countries, and if you accidentally log in while you're overseas, they'll cancel your account, which freezes all your money and prevents all your customers from paying you. Credit cards are even worse than PayPal. Online fraud is rampantly out of control. And you, the merchant, bears the full cost of this crime, plus commissions, plus chargebacks, plus penalties, etc. Domains. A while back, my domain got cut off by GoDaddy. Lloyds Bank is one of my customers, and somebody reported me to GoDaddy for impersonating a bank. GoDaddy gave me 2.5 hours to explain, but never answered their phone, never returned my email, never answered my voicemails, and didn't check the evidence in the first place. Patent trolls, the scourge of the internet. The US patent system is way beyond broken. The USPTO is so overloaded they can and do grant patents on anything, like one-click payments, rounded corners, or exercising cats with laser pointers. Seriously. There's 3 million US patents out there, which basically means there's an army of greedy speculators with legal monopolies on practically every aspect of the internet. As soon as they see you've got money, say hello to an Eastern District of Texas courtroom plus 2 years of stress, and goodbye to $3 million in legal fees plus a random $100 million in damages. And you'll never get those fees back, not even when the patent gets found invalid, which happens more than half the time. My troll sued Adobe, PayPal, Amazon, half a dozen other big names, my company, me personally, and my ISP. About a week later, my ISP cut me off. In other words, for the $350 it takes to file a lawsuit, you can kick any legitimate site you want off the internet. Just sue their ISP. So there it is, my message for change. Am I asking our governments to look after us better, or suggesting you sort that out yourself? You decide.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.